So you guys are just starting with a blank notability doc today, and this is saying what you need to know for today. It says you may use any appropriate method, which includes the quadratic formula. We'll review that for a minute. Completing the square. We'll review that for a minute. Or factoring, and this zero product property, that just means how you have your factors. You know, you factored it and it looks like this. And the zero product property just means if I make this part 0, then the zero product property says that that's, if anything that makes one of the products be 0, if this part can be made 0, then that's the answer. And it's one of the x-intercepts or roots or zeros or solutions. Okay, so I want to talk about quadratic formula first. To begin with, just pop it in for this. X squared plus 9x minus 10. Please use the quadratic formula to get your answers here. This one is kind of easy, but I wanted it to work out nice. Carter Johnson, can you tell me what negative b is?
9.
Negative 9, but I know what you mean. Plus or minus the square root of b squared is 81. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 10. I put it in parentheses because I don't want to mess up and forget that negative. All over 2a, which is 2. Negative 9 plus and minus 81 plus another positive 40. Is that 121?
Yep.
Which equals 11.
Okay, all over 2. And then it's 11, like you said, negative 9 plus or minus 11 over 2. And then that's negative 9 plus 11 over 2. And negative 9 minus 11 over 2. And that simplifies to 2 over 2, which is 1. And negative 20 over 2, which is negative 10. Now that I got those nice clean answers that are x-intercepts, roots, zeros, and I was using the quadratic formula, could you have known way back here that there was going to be 2 answers? Yes. We just wouldn't know what they were. This is called the discriminant. All right. Next, was there an easier way than all of that? I mean, look at all of that work. What was the much easier way? Yes.
Completing the squares.
Actually, that would have worked, but solving the completed the square thing actually takes a long time. Just factoring. X and x plus 10 minus 1. See how fast that is? And I already know the answers are negative 10 and 1. And look at that. Same thing, negative 10 and 1. So do you get why factoring's pretty handy? And that's why I always say if you can factor it, you should. So on some of your homework today, you can factor them. Don't go through the whole quadratic formula. It takes like 16 steps. This, just one thing. And then from there, you can say x equals negative 10 and x equals 1. All right. Now, what else do we have to review? We've talked about the quadratic formula. We've talked about factoring, and that zero product property is just the part where that makes it equal 0 and that makes it equal 0. So they're the answers. What haven't we talked about? Completing the square. So let's do one hard complete the square. You'll have to factor this one. I'm going to put the minus 1 way over there to make room to work. And wait, that's really too hard because it's going to have a fraction in it too. Sorry. We're going to make this a 12. Now, my answer won't have fractions in it at least.
Just Lou's absent today.
Bavia, tell me what to do.
So first you factor out the 2.
I agree. 2 comes out. What do you got left?
X squared plus 6x.
Nice. Now, what do you think we do next?
Half of 6 is 3 and 3 squared is 9.
Half and squared plus 9. Now what?
Minus 9 into 2
Nice.
minus 1.
But what? You said it, but what do I do now? I'm missing a piece.
You multiply the root number 2.
Why does that get times by 2? You're right. Why does it get times by 2?
Because you factored out the 2 before, so you
This 9, the red 9, was actually going to be multiplied out and made worth 18. And this needs to cancel it. That's the y for sure. Okay, and then final answer, y equals 2 parentheses. What do you put here?
x plus 3 squared.
Nice. And the final last thing?
Negative 19.
Negative 19, the average age of a foot soldier in Vietnam. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so why do we even do that? That's called completing the square, and it gives you the vertex. I can see the vertex now. Boom. I couldn't see the vertex before. I'm just going to rewrite my original equation. 2x squared plus 12x minus 1. That does not scream negative 3, negative 19 to me. I don't see it at all. But here, this screams negative 3, negative 19. I know that's the vertex, so it will be the highest or the lowest spot. And then since there's no negative in the front, there's no negative in the front of this or here, then that means it's a right side up parabola. And its vertex would be like way down here somewhere. And it's a right side up parabola. So if I had to sketch it, that'd be probably good enough. Okay? What line would run right down the middle of it? There's a name for that. Axis of symmetry, and it's at x equals negative 3. This just tells you automatic. If you know the vertex, you know so much. All right. So that's good enough. Now you have a worksheet which is just reviewing all of this stuff. And because there's only 4 questions that have lots of parts, I'll admit, it's easy to finish in class today. And if you do, you walk out of here with no homework over the long weekend for you. I have to work Friday, but you have a nice long weekend. Finish this worksheet in class so you can be not having to think about it anymore. So, all right, so let's start with number 1. I know a lot of you are still getting there, so I'll just start it while you're getting there. It says D. That's discriminant. So to do that, I'm going to do b squared minus 4ac, the hard part of the quadratic formula. So that would be negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 11. That's 64 minus 44, and that would be 20. Now, a lot of people ask, do I do the square root? No. The discriminant is just 20. Now, if I had made this worksheet, right now I would have said, what does that tell me about the solutions? And what does it tell me? There's 2 solutions, because it's positive. If the discriminant's positive, just the discriminant by itself really doesn't do much. Okay, now let me give you a pro tip on actually finding the x-intercepts. You already did all the work for the quadratic formula. Unless you see how to factor it right away, which I don't, I would just go right to the part where we already know this is the part that's underneath the root. So x equals negative b would be 8, plus or minus the square root of 20, because I already figured that out. All over 2a, which is 2 times 1, which is 2. And then it becomes, can you simplify that? Because that's what's called the exact answer, because it's got the square root in it. The decimal one, that's where you'd actually go find the decimal for the square root of 20. But I'm going to do the simplifying. That could be root 4 and root 5. So 2 root 5. 8 plus and minus 2 root 5 all over 2. I wish I could factor this because, you know, if I can factor it, I really should. Oh, I guess I can factor it. 4 plus minus square root of 5 all over 2. 2's cancel. There's my answer in exact form. Now I'd probably go grab my calculator or use my iPad's calculator and figure out what the square root of 5 is and go 4 plus that. And then 4 minus whatever the square root of 5 is. I'd make them decimals. Now, it does say to round to 2 places. So that means like 0.45. Okay. Then vertex form. Well, I never did get the vertex. Dang, I guess I'm going to have to go find the vertex of this thing. So that's x equals negative b over 2a. That's how I'd get the vertex. Once I get the vertex, I can write it in vertex form fairly easy. So negative b over 2a would be negative 8. No, negative of negative 8. So it's 8 over 2a, which is 2. So x equals 8 divided by 2 is 4. And that's the axis of symmetry. If I were making this worksheet, I'd have a spot for axis of symmetry also. And the vertex is 4 comma something, and I don't know yet. But I'm going to go put 4 back in the original problem. 16 minus 32. You starting to notice that pattern I told you about, where these are always opposites of each other and one's double the other? So negative 16 plus 11, final answer, negative 5. Negative 5. 4 comma negative 5. And is it a max or a min? Well, I'm going to sketch it quick because if I see the picture, I'll easily know that. 4 negative 5 means the vertex is like down there. And I look for a negative in the front. I don't see a negative in the front. It's a normal parabola. So it looks like that. That means it's a min. Very good. Vertex form. Once I know the vertex form's easy. Y equals parentheses x minus 4 squared minus 5. And then who knows what dumb mistake I have to look for right here. It's really easy to forget something as you write your vertex form. Yes?
The square.
Yes, people forget the squared all the time. You're right. But there's something else. Okay. Did you even look to see if there was a stretch factor in the front? Because if there was a 2 in the front, you'd have to put a 2 there. There wasn't, but if you didn't even think about it, you probably would have snoozed and losed. Okay, so if there's like a 2 in front, it would have to go there. There wasn't this time, but if you didn't even look, you probably would have got that one wrong on the test. Okay, now there's only, well, there were 4 problems, so now there's only 3 questions left. And you got a good idea how to do it. I think one of these factors, and that first one did not. If you factor it, so much easier than the quadratic formula. Okay, that's all I got for you for today.